What's going on, everyone? I am Andre. Let's redo that. Ready? 3. All right, you ready? 3, 2. What's going on, everyone? I am Andrej Suttles, and welcome to the Andrej Suttles Show. I'm finally getting it up and rolling. Starting it off, had some great motivation. I'm here with my Nana. So, the Andrej Suttles Show, it's a show where we interview interesting people about interesting topics. I keep you guys updated on real estate things, and also just keep you guys updated on things that I think are interesting. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Today I'm interviewing my Nana all the way up from Florida. I'm super excited for this. And let's get started. Just introduce yourself. Tell people who you are.
Well, I'm Wanda Berk, and maiden name Fernowski, and I am your Nana. Proud to be that.
I love that.
Your daughter was my firstborn.
Right? My mom. Shout out to my mom, Chris Suttles.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out. So, also shout out to my brother. My brother's here with us. He's behind the camera. Couldn't do this without him, man. So, yeah. So, I've got a couple questions for you. I wrote down a couple questions.
Let's do it.
I just want to kind of, as the young people say, just pick your brain, have a conversation with you. So, tell me a little bit about your childhood. Tell me kind of what was your favorite part, some things you remember, and I'll keep us on track. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Well, I grew up with 5 brothers and sisters, and we did a lot of traveling because my father was in the Merchant Marines, and he owned a bunch of ships. Mm-hmm. So we did a lot of traveling. It was always interesting with 5 brothers and sisters. We started off on a farm when I was little, and that was a lot of fun. Then we went to Texas. We went to Florida when I was it was 64, so I was 14 years old when we moved to Florida, and grew up in Fort Lauderdale. Now that was wild. Right. Back then.
These are the stories I heard.
There's a lot of good stories from Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lickerdale, they called it. So I hung out with my 2 older brothers who used to soup up boats and cars. And the goal was to beat the cops, and the cops' goal was to beat my brothers. But it was all really, it was more fun than anything else. Yeah. The cops were a few years older than us, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So I remember very vividly you telling me a story about one time you were running from someone and they had a shotgun.
Oh, no, I was only 5. That was the Johnson farm next to me when we were in New York, and I was only 5 years old. And we knew we weren't supposed to be over there, but it was too enticing. There was baby cows over there. And so my brothers and I went over to the Johnson farm to see the new baby cows, little calves. And we saw Farmer Johnson coming. He had a gun, a rifle, but we didn't think he'd use it. It just had rock salt in it. And we started running for the silo. That was the closest thing. Of course, my brothers outran me like mad. And he kind of peppered the back of my leg with rock salt. And then, of course, the boys were saying, "You can't tell Mom and Dad, you can't." But I kept it in until I got in the bathtub, and that salt started melting.
Oh, yeah. All right.
And that was couldn't keep it in anymore. Right. I was only 5.
That's funny.
And that started our adventures.
And I've heard a lot of stories about Fort Lauderdale days. So I know growing up, I remember we would always, my mom for the most part would drop us off before school, and you would always be standing out there ready, and every single morning, 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, and you'd be like, "Hey, we got the eggs on the stove already,"
or pancakes, or
right,
whatever,
something like that. So that kind of leads me in. I remember you were literally the first probably entrepreneur we've ever met, most consistent. So what? My second question is what's your profession, and how did you kind of become the entrepreneur that you are?
Well, that kind of started when I was in my 40s, and I had a radical hysterectomy is what started it. And then they put me on the synthetic hormones, and it messed me up bad. I ended up in the hospital with heart problems and everything. So I started studying what is the alternative, and that's when I got into alternative hormones, and that's my forte for the last 25 years, is teaching people and getting them, finding out what they need naturally. These are bioidentical hormones, and which ones they needed. And I kind of took over a company. He was selling androstenedione at the time. That's all he had. Didn't even know what that was. He didn't. And I ended up selling and helping him design the progesterones and natural estrogens and the natural hormones. And then I started doing conventions, and I studied it heavily. And by the end of after about 10 years, I had doctors calling me say, "I understand you're the hormone lady." But it was interesting, very interesting, and hopefully I helped a lot of people. I know I helped some women have their babies.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have pictures on a wall of. I didn't do it, but I helped them show
But you made the
how.
connection, yeah.
And it totally works. So yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
interesting.
Yeah, I remember very vividly. We used to come over your house, and you had the office in the back, and we'd be playing Monopoly or something like that. And you get a call, and you be like, "1 second," and you take the call, and you be like, "All right, let me write this order up." Wrote the order up real quick, and we would go right back to playing Monopoly.
Yeah, I did. I did
was
it
like, that is-
since 90. I guess 92. I guess I started. No, it was. No, I think it was about 98. I get 90. Literally, I can tell what years by how old you guys were.
Right, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it was about 98 when I started doing that at home. Because you were just getting ready to start kindergarten.
5 years old.
Yep.
All right, cool. So my next question for you, and I think we spoke about this a little bit when we went on our drives this past couple of days. So who was the most influential person that you met?
Well, for me, my 5th grade teacher, who was Coach Willis, he's the one that got me started on, or helped me get into gymnastics. And that really gave me confidence for the rest of my years through high school. Well, I have to admit, a little bit more confident than I needed to be. I was a little cocky, but but I ended up in 2 weeks after approaching him, I went to the nationals for gymnastics on one.
That's crazy. So tell me a little bit about that story. I remember you mentioning you had you heard his accent.
That was after the gymnastics meet, and I won first in floor exercises, second in the parallel bars, and I don't remember what I won third in, but I did. But this trainer came up to me, and all I knew is he had a really Russian accent, and I knew it was because my father was from Poland, so I knew it was a thick Slavic accent, and I could understand him. He wanted me to move into his home and train 12 hours a day he wanted to take me to the Olympics. He said, "You could be the queen of the Olympics." And I said, "Well, what do I get?" And he said, "Well, you'll get a medal." I'm going, I'm 12 years old. I'm going to take me away from my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters, and school, and I get a medal. Yeah, no, that doesn't add up.
Right. Yeah, that's hilarious. That's funny.
But, in my 12-year-old head, I could do it. There was no choice. There was no doubt about it. Because I had just won, after 2 weeks of training, I just won nationals.
I remember you telling me all about that.
That was the reason. That's where
very specifically, you were like, I got third and...
Yeah,
but about first and second.
That's terrible. I really don't remember what the third. And it was like, no, I got first and second.
Yeah. That's funny. So kind of transitioning. I know you kind of moved forward and you grew up a little bit. You went to become a mother, and I think this is going to lead me into what was your happiest time of your life.
Oh yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, the happiest time of my life is when I lived on that street next to you.
Really?
And you guys were coming over every morning. And see, what made it so happy, a lot of the grandmothers I know, they said, "Oh my God, you have to have them every day." And I said, "Yeah," and I loved it.
Right.
And the reason I loved it is I knew if you got on my nerves, I could tell you to go home because you lived on the next block. But because I had that choice, I never wanted to.
Yeah. Never got that bad.
No,
That's funny.
that was the happiest 8 years of my life. Is when
Yeah.
you guys were coming over every day. I mean, if you looked at my garage, you'd think I had 10 kids because I had so much stuff there.
And I remember,
We did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we did do a lot of stuff there. So to kind of put it into perspective for you guys, so we used to, and I was talking to my brother about this too, and he mentioned how rare it was. We had a neighborhood that we lived in that the elementary school was nestled in the middle of the neighborhood. And we lived probably
4 houses from
yeah,
me.
4 houses. My nana lived 4 houses from the school,
perfect, yeah.
and we lived probably 2-3 blocks away. So in the morning when my mom would go to work and my dad would be at work, we would always get dropped off at my nana's house probably an hour before school started. And then as soon as school got out, we'd run up to my nana's house and be there for most of the day until the streetlights pretty much came on. So yeah, we did a lot of things there. We built bike ramps. Had a little bike shop in the back.
Lemonade stands, bike
we
racks.
did everything. We did everything. the whole kid experience. So yeah, that's awesome. So tell me,
You built a bike shop in my garage.
We did.
I went around to the garage sales and bought bikes for old bikes for $5-10, and they would tear them apart and put them on hooks.
Literally.
The parts.
Just in case someone needed something. We had to keep the bike going. So just in case someone needed something. So yeah, that was very, very nostalgic time. We did a lot of that. Was when Tony Hawk was out. We played video games in the back room. We played so much Monopoly. So much Monopoly. Oh my goodness. So all right, cool. Tell me about and I wrote this down, and I remember I told you, kind of chatted about these questions, and you chuckled about it. So tell me about a life lesson that you've learned.
A life lesson.
Yep.
Wow. I'll tell you my biggest life lesson. I made a conscious decision when my daughters were little and I was a single mom. I did not want, all my friends were working 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day to get ahead, and have the big house and the big cars and the big. I made a conscious decision when my kids were little, when your mom and your Aunt Shelley were little, that I wasn't going to do that. And that's when nobody really grows up saying, I'm going to be a salesman.
Yeah.
But I made that, I could be home, work from 9 to 2, and make enough money to make sure they had good clothes, it was up to me.
Yeah.
And I could be with my daughters. And the same thing held through when you guys were little. Because I could be there with you guys.
That time.
And that was the most important thing to me. So that was I wasn't going to spend my time beating the road and doing and working, and I didn't care about. I always had nice homes. They always had nice clothes. But I didn't want to kill myself working. I wanted to be a mom, be a nana. That was my biggest life lesson. To let go of that. Oh, and I always was top sales everywhere I went. So, but I wasn't going to work more than. That's why I like sales. Is you work 5 hours a day and then you go home to your kids.
No, absolutely. I think back, and there was never a time where you weren't able to have full control of your life, to be able to move, do whatever you want to do.
Yep.
If we're moving, you're like, well, hey, I'll look for a place that's closer to you guys or something like that. Just be able to up and go, just because you have that control. And that was something that I know rubbed off on me and my brother for sure. We were buying and selling cell phones in middle school, elementary, high school, as soon as we could drive. So that was something that I definitely know rubbed on us. And just being able to see how many ways you can make money. You know? Especially we used to go to so many yard sales.
Oh, see, that's to me is like a treasure hunt.
Right?
Yeah.
we used to, and there was just so many different ways. We definitely have learned a lot and been through a lot. So, all right, cool. Tell me about, what is one of your favorite hobbies that you like to do? What's a hobby of yours?
Hobbies?
Yeah.
Gosh, now I don't really have hobbies. Um, I used to do a lot of crafts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I loved that. Well, I worked for a flower shop for. When I was a single mom, I wanted to learn to do a lot of different things,
Yeah.
but I looked it up in the colleges to see how much it would cost to take a course on flower arranging.
Mm-hmm.
It was expensive, too expensive. So what I did for quite a few years, I worked for a plumber for about a year so I could learn how to do my own plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
I worked for a florist. I worked for a wallpaper hanger. And I let them pay me to learn how.
Yeah.
So I did. I really enjoyed for a hobby doing art crafts, like making flower arrangements and matching door wreaths and give them as gifts to people.
Oh, okay. That was awesome. And I know you tell people a little bit about where you live at and what you get to view every day.
Oh yeah, that's
a hobby
nice. That's
for some
pretty
people.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I live on a barrier island off the coast of Florida. It's between Vero and Fort Pierce, and it's an island. So you got to go over a bridge to get to it. So my living room, I can sit in my living room, watch TV at this angle, and watch the ocean at that angle. And at night, I can open my windows and hear the surf. So I really got, and that's due to friend Andrea. It's her place, and she lives next door in a condo. We can hang out with each other, and so I'm
Have a
very
good
lucky.
time.
I'm very blessed.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, I know you value a lot in life, and there's a lot of people you care about, a lot of things you care about. Tell me something that you would say you value the most. And that may be that's a tough one.
What, a thing or?
It can be anything. It can be anything.
I mean, hands down, what I value the most in my family. My kids and my family, that's my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
That's everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that really is the most valuable thing to me.
And I know for a fact, I was talking about interviewing you, and you were like, well, I'll just come up there. And I was like, all right, well, let's book a flight. And she's like, what's the app that you use? And I'm like, well, let's look right now. So, yeah, that was, I love that you're always there when we need you to come. I remember when in high school I was driving, well, no, I was actually in college. And me and my brother were back, I believe I was a sophomore and he was a freshman. We were back in Georgia, and we were over my cousin DeVaris' house, and when he was in Kennesaw. And we were probably out till like 1:30, 2 o'clock over a spot, and me and my brother were driving back, and my insurance is in South Carolina, but my car was registered in Georgia under my mom's name. And I remember we got pulled over. They told me my license was expired. I was going to jail, and I was like, I gotta call my name. I was like, I cannot call my mom and dad right now. I gotta call my dad. I know she about 15 minute extra drive, but I know she gonna come get us. And I remember my brother stayed there with the car, and my nan ended up coming. And there's never been a time where we haven't been able to call you and you've been able to, show up.
Well, so. I came to the school a few times.
Yeah, right.
With Renzo and his phone.
Yeah. Literally. So that kind of progresses me into as we start to wrap it up. And I know my brother's here too, so you got to tell us both. So what is one of your favorite memories of me, and what is one of your favorite memories of my brother?
Well, this is kind of, but one of my favorite things about you is I delivered you.
Yeah.
That's there's just no anything more special than delivering your oldest child's first child. It was just, the doctor was right there, but he saw how excited I was. Mm-hmm. and so he said, no, you're going to do this. I'm going to sit right here and help you, talk you through it. And that was just jaw-dropping, shocking. It was so wonderful. And that really is... I mean, there's so many that, and I remember when you were just a few weeks old, I took you to the top of the Lookout Mountain, and you were just right there. And And then, of course, the night that you got his senior prank.
Oh yeah, that was the night. That was the night.
That was the night. They got arrested though. Well, for senior prank.
Oh, that's
they
funny.
were painting a damn. Well, they'd done
Yeah.
it for 12 years at the school, so
Yeah.
nobody thought they were going to really get in trouble. It was a tradition.
Yeah.
Well, they did this year.
Right. That was funny.
And Renzo, the first thing comes to my head about Renzo is when he was about, he wasn't 2 years old yet. It was like, I was sitting on the couch and he was standing, because he was a little monkey, and he was he real quickly stood on the couch and just jumped at my head and wrapped his arms and legs around my head like a tree frog. And I'll never forget, because I didn't see him. It was like bam. But that was a lot of stuff that was just the way he was, and that was okay. I loved it.
Right.
But that's when you guys were little. I have a lot of stories about Big too, but
Yeah, literally.
yeah.
So
You guys were a little bit, well, let's just say you were adventurous.
yeah, that was the word. 11 months apart.
Oh, and I loved it. It was
Yeah.
great. I know. But I got to experience all that with you. Was really cool. That was just a lot of fun. I tell you though, I have a lot of friends, especially where I'm at now, people that I grew up in high school with and stuff. They don't have, and they hate it. They don't have the relationships because they're scattered to the wind with their grandkids, and they just are very sad about that. And I'm just so blessed because you guys stay close to me and I stay close to you, and in communication. That's so special. You guys get a hold of your grandparents.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, really, even a phone call. But you guys, if I don't talk to you for a few days, you call me. So it's like,
yeah, shoot you a text or something. You got some emojis now, so
Right.
or FaceTime. We finally got my Nana iPhone, so we can FaceTime, and we FaceTime. So yeah, you heard it from my Nana. Get in contact with your grandparents.
yeah, they really
And,
do. They crave it. They really need it, and I feel so blessed because my grandkids, especially Andre and Lorenz, they keep in touch with me all the time. So that's very special.
Yeah. Well, I know it's important to us. We love chatting with you, getting the stories. I love having business conversations, in-depth conversations. We have some good convos. So.
Well, we're in sales.
Yeah, I know it.
So that's kind of cool.
It's a fun.
And I was always
fun
top
place to be
sales.
in. Yeah.
Always. Every company that I was in, I was one of the top sales. Yeah, it's because I wanted to be good so I didn't have to work more than 5 hours a day.
I'm trying to get out of there in 2-3 hours, hit my quota. So
Get back to my boys.
yeah, I hear that. Well, at the end of every show, I do like to give people a chance just to say anything that they didn't get a chance to say, or say anything that they want to motivate someone with. Just anything that they may have not had a chance to say.
There's so many things, but one of my favorite sayings, especially with people in sales, I used to train a lot of salespeople in all different. There's really only two kinds of people in the world, and everything else is just window dressing. But there's two kinds of people in the world: those that say they can, and those that say they can't. And they're both right. That's really one of my, I used to have that over my desk and everything. It's just, if you really pay attention to that, it's absolutely true. And it can take you through your whole life.
Well, that's good. That's great, actually. I love that. I'm going to quote it. Put it up on the wall. I'm gonna show you, send you a picture when I got it up on my wall. So
You can do anything you want to if you put your mind to it. That you really, that's not just the same.
yeah, it's not.
It really isn't just the same. So.
And I think that's one thing, especially you and my mom have instilled in me and my brother, was just the ability to, that if someone else can do it, we can do it. Now it may take time, but we can do it.
You didn't even have to wait till somebody else can do it. You
right,
can do it.
You can do it. So
I can't tell you how many times I open paths.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about huge ones. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But open paths that wasn't done. Because that's, that's the entrepreneur, isn't it? That is an entrepreneur. So don't go along with, I gotta work 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And corporations, I want to work for corporations.
Yeah.
I'm not really good for rules.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I'm trying to build my own team.
That's right. That's right.
No, I hear you. All right, cool. Well, I'm very glad that you're my first episode. I'm glad that we got to start this off. If you guys are still tuned in, I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.